you can take it up and do. Okay, so right now we're going into something called customer value proposition. So that is the second part of the first module that we are talking about, right? In the first part, you understood everything about what B2B is all about, and then how different it is from B2C, and then how we can create a very good supply network, and then build a good supply chain that is equally competitive enough and something that can help us to deliver. Okay, so we're going to go into the second module, which is called customer value proposition. Now, how does a company position itself and understand what is that I have to deliver? If you're a business, if you're a supplier, right, and you have to supply to several companies, right? And as I told you in the beginning, that these companies in the industry to whom you want to supply are very limited. It is not like the B2C market where it is spread out all throughout the country or spread all throughout the world. You have very limited number of players who want your kind of products or input factors or raw materials that you want to supply, right? So you need to be able to cater to them. And if they have to choose you as a supplier, which means you are not the only supplier, you're not in a state of monopoly, right? You are not the only supplier. There will be other suppliers also will be equally good. So if this particular business has to contact you and then depend on you for supply of raw materials, components, and input factors, then you're not the only player who's proposing, but there are also others who are also positioning and propositioning themselves to this company. So you have to be the best in that particular case, right? So how do you do that? How do you create that customer value proposition? How do you tell your business that I am the best supplier, I am the only one who can give you what you want? So that is what we call as customer value proposition. So that is what we're going to be learning in this particular part. So concentrate on this and you will know what exactly to do when you later on get into the stage where you have to develop strategies and build some very good propositions for your companies. And we'll also look at one example, and there are 7 more examples that you will see. So you will see how these companies have actually built value. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for your for customer value proposition. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, so how do you build a CVP? In short, it's called customer value proposition. So what a business wants, what a buyer is looking for, and how you as a seller, what are you going to offer as a value on their table that they will be taking it up and they will continue to have a longer relationship with you so that you become a part of the supply chain. You start doing good in your business, and thereby the other company that's also buying from you will also start seeing value and good performance for themselves. So let's look at what CVP is all about. Your business marketing strategy must be based on 3 C's: the company, competitor, and customer. So you understand this, when you did your internship, when you had to write your organizational report, organization profile, you were looking at 3 C's. This is very important. So when you want to prepare a customer value proposition and you want to position yourself to a certain company and say, I'm a very good supplier and you can depend on me. It depends on what kind of a company are you looking to supply to. It's very important. Because it's very important. It's a very long-term kind of a business. In B2B, who you pick to supply is extremely, extremely important. Right? So if you're a value-oriented or value-based organization, so you will want to do business with a value-based organization. If you're a technology-centric organization, you'd want to do business with another technology-centric organization. If you are somebody who gives a lot of importance to customer service and customer performances, so you would want to do business with somebody similar as such. So very often, sellers are looking for buyers who are very much like them and who believe in values, who believe in a certain culture, who believe in performance parameters, just like how your company believes in. Similarly, buyers also are looking for sellers with similar background. So that is where the like-mindeds are going to meet. So before you start thinking about value proposition, it's very important that you do your homework about your company. Buyers will do homework about the suppliers, suppliers will do homework about the buyers, so that you get to understand you are going to be doing business with the right company. First thing. The second thing is you must understand who are the other players in your supply market, supply industry with whom you are competing. So you need to know that. That's very, 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 very important. Who are the other players who are there with you, similar to you, who are offering services to the same company. So because there's competition, so you need to understand your competition profile. You need to understand who are the various players, what is that they are offering, what is their background, what is their experience, who are the various customers and clients that they have in their list. So it's very important to do a competitor profile and then understand what are the things that you can put into your organization or build into your proposition so that you are one step ahead or better than your competitor, which means you have to define your unique selling proposition vis-a-vis your competitor, right? Third is get to know your buyer. Very, very specific. Get to know everything about the buyer, the buying company, what kind of business they are in, what industry are they in, what are the products and services that they manufacture, what is the technology that they have right now, who are the clients that they're serving to, what are the products that they were selling earlier, what are the products that they are selling right now, what are their future plans. Get to know everything about the company, right? And very important, you should look at this. Business companies, especially buying companies, will always look for suppliers who've done thorough homework about their company, right? When I say thorough homework does not mean just getting to know what is written on their website. It's very important that you get to know about this buyer by using all forms or all sources of information where something about this company or something about this company's plans, something about the technologies that they're working in, something about the products that they are planning for the future is already there. So it will be there in the press, it will be there in some news bits, it will be there in some blogs. You can go through all of that. And then you get a better sense and understanding about your your customer. It's very similar to snooping, very similar to snooping, but you're using the legal methods or you're using all the possible information that's available in public domain. So once you are knowing these three things, what is this company and then who is your customer and what are they looking for, what is their specific indices on the basis of which they want to shortlist the suppliers, and then getting to know your competitor. Based on the three things, then you can formulate your marketing strategy. Very similar to what we do in marketing for B2C. Very similarly, we adopt the same method for B2B. So a successful strategy focuses on identifying those opportunities in which the firm can deliver superior value to customers based on its distinctive competencies. So which is a company that does well? So when you formulate your marketing strategy, you have to build your USP, your unique selling proposition. Now, when you build your unique selling proposition, it is not just adding features or it is not just having certain things that are a lot more different than your competitors and say that this is my USP. Most importantly, you need to see whether the USP that you're putting into your proposition list, which you want to go and pitch before your buyer, is the one that the buyer needs, right? You should look for whether the USP that you've created is something that the buyer needs or the business needs. A lot of time there is a disconnect here. Very similar, you will see all these, with your own experience and also with experiences or business plans that are proposed. A lot of budding entrepreneurs come up with their business plans and say, this is what is my product all about, this is what my service is all about, this is what we want to offer, right? And this is my USP. Like a lot of times what happens is the USP that you are claiming is so distinct and so different from, and you say that none of the competitors have it, is something that the customer does not want. What you say is very important as a USP is something that the business does not see as important. So that is where the disconnect takes place. So if you're a supplier, right? If you are a supplier and if you are looking for supplying to a certain company, it's very important that you build your USP and talk in the manner and tone and put that content that is very similar, that is very pleasing to the ears of the buyer. What the buyer is looking for is what you should show, and what the buyer wants to hear and listen is what you should be talking as part of your proposition. So it's very carefully and very tactfully you should build your CVP. So remember this part there. Very, very important uh, marketing lesson as well as a lesson for how to structure your B2B. Right. So going further, market-driven firms attempt to match their resources, skills, and capabilities with particular customer needs that are not being adequately served. So how do you find an opportunity? How do you know what this business is looking for? Right. So how do you know what this business is looking for? Right. So I said you have to build your USP, and your USP has to be built. right? So your USP has to be built on the basis of what you can offer. So generally, as we say, any company is always looking for something that differentiates them from rest of the others, right? So that is what we call as competitive advantage. And that competitive advantage is what you're packaging as part of the USP, which you are propositioning to your business. So what I told you in the previous slide, what you're putting into a USP is something that the buyer should also like, and it should also be attractive to the buyer. And the buyer should also be able to know that if they are going to connect with you and take what you are offering, it is going to help them to fulfill their business requirements and thereby help them to do well in their markets. So that's where suppliers and businesses will look at trying to bring the best of resources, hire the best of people, bring the best of technology, get the best of raw materials, and build capabilities. All right. And when you build capabilities, you've got to look at two things. One is to serve an existing need of the business. What is the need that they have right now for which they are looking for a supplier or a business with whom they want to tie up and ensure that they get regular supplies? That's one thing. Existing need, fulfillment of an existing need. And the second thing is looking for an opportunity to serve a need that is not yet seen, but something that the company is thinking of serving in the future, which is an opportunity. So, in simple words, you should have a solution for an existing problem that the company is facing. And secondly, you should be thinking or building solutions that is going to be taken by the company sometime later when it starts looking at serving an unserved market or an unserved need. So that is where you should be able to cater to, right? So that's where companies will have to be focused on what they are doing today as well as what they want to offer for the future. So that's when you can have a continuous relationship, right? So you should always look at something like that. I'll give you an example of Intel and the device manufacturers, right? So the device manufacturers, now, for example, HP and Dell could think about making different kinds of laptops. So new product, as part of the new product development, they could be thinking about manufacturing different kind of models, more sleeker models, more models with better functionality, better features, with more additional technologies, right? More virtual technologies that can enable anybody who's buying those laptops to do well. So if that's the kind of new product development strategy that HP and Dell are thinking of, right? Now, what should Intel be thinking of? Now, Intel is the supplier. HP and Dell are the buying firms. So if HP and Dell are thinking about manufacturing the product for the next kind of opportunity that's going to come up, the kind of needs that customers will have 5 years from now. So there is a new product development journey or a process that HP and Dell are going through. Now, those features can be enabled, or HP or Dell can really build that kind of a new model and then be able to serve 5 years from now, only if they have a technology support, that is going to come from Intel. So Intel has to not just deliver microprocessors for making existing laptops for HP and Dell and for other devices. They should also be thinking about what HP and Dell are thinking about in the future, where Intel can also innovate and look into their R&Ds and then be able to come up with those kind of processing technologies that will enable HP and Dell to incorporate that or embed that into a product, right? Now let's say, for example, no, Intel does not look at that. If Intel thinks that I'm very happy doing what I am doing right now, and if they don't innovate, if they don't do their research and development, if they don't work very closely with HP and Dell, or not don't understand what HP and Dell are thinking about their new product development strategies, right? So at the time when HP and Dell would want to buy microprocessors from Intel, Intel will not have anything because they'll say, we're not prepared for it or we haven't done. So give us another 2 years time for us to, deliver what you are looking for. Do you think HP and Dell are going to wait? HP and Dell are definitely not going to wait. They will look for another microprocessing company that can help them to get what they are looking for. So that is where that's where companies lose an opportunity, right? So if you look at Intel has been a market leader in the microprocessing market for so many years. There's no other name that you can think of that can come very close to what Intel is doing. Why? Because Intel has created that sort of a customer value proposition, understood what all these companies are looking for, and then they've been able to deliver what they want. And that is what has led to the superior performances of all these devices. So that's how companies will have to think about. So by understanding customer needs, like I'm telling you, Intel understanding HP and Dell's needs. Marketing managers define value from the customer's perspective. So Intel is not making processes and forcing HP and Dell to buy what they are doing. Intel is making processors after understanding what HP and Dell are thinking about doing with their current models or current devices, what kind of technologies they would want to incorporate, and then also looking at new product development and convert that information into requirements for creating satisfied customers. So when HP and Dell decide 3 years or 5 years from now, when they're going to bring those ultra sleek HP, high performance HP and Dell models and devices into the market, it'll all be functional, and it'll be functional and it'll be some of the best things that will be sold at that point of time because Intel has also worked collaboratively with HP and Dell and been a part of their supply chain and been a part of that value and need fulfillment that they've created. So that is how businesses will have to work, right? And it's just not about one company. I'm just giving you Intel as an example. HP and Dell don't just depend on Intel. Intel is just one of the suppliers, one of the main suppliers for what they make. And if you dismantle your laptop, you dismantle your device, those numerous parts are again going to go to different suppliers. So many different suppliers that you have in the market now. Each of them will have to work in tandem. They have to work in collaboration with HP and Dell and then build that customer value. Only then they can sustain and ensure that sort of a relationship takes place and they're able to do what companies require and then also be able to satisfy customers in the long run. So that's how serious this business is all about. So going into the real meaning of what customer value proposition. So it captures the particular set of benefits that a supplier offers to advance the performance of customer organization. So HP and Dell are customer organizations. Yesterday I gave you example Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson is a customer organization. So who are the suppliers? Intel is a supplier. Android is a supplier, right? And for Harley Davidson, we spoke about 200 different suppliers that they have in their network. All those 200 suppliers, they have to understand, they have to create benefits and then ensure that they are able to offer those benefits to those customer organizations. HP, Dell, Harley Davidson, Lenovo, anybody for that matter, iPhones, all of them, rather than merely attempting to list more benefits than competitors. So the point that I told you in the beginning is this. You want to be different? Yes, you want to be different than your competitors. Great. But if you're just adding a few features or adding a few USPs that says that I am better than my competitors or I have something that I offer which no other competitors offer, and if it is not needed or required by any of your business customer companies, then you're at a loss. So it has to be in tandem. What you create as a USP, what you set out as a differentiator, what you call as a competitive advantage is something that must be beneficial for a customer organization or a business organization that is going to buy from you and is going to rely on you for constantly supplying for their business. So best practice suppliers base their value proposition on the few elements that matter the most to target customers. So what are the things that they do? They demonstrate value of this superior performance. So which means these suppliers are some of them who are best in business. Like for example, like an Intel. Intel is the best in business, right? So you have some, amazing suppliers like that who created such kind of a network. Or for example, Microsoft is also a very good example, or Google's Android is also a very good example of a supplier, right? These are technology supply companies, right? So many of them like that, right? So why they are the best in their businesses? Because what they offer is of high value, right? And that what they offer as high value is something that leads to the performance of the products that the B2B companies are offering. So you should be able to demonstrate value of a superior performance first thing. Then you must be able to communicate whatever the supplier is making or whatever R&D or whatever new product development that your supply company is making or thinking about or planning. It should be in tandem with the requirement and the need of the customer in future. It should be useful for a business when they are thinking about a new product that they want to launch into the market. And thirdly, understanding the customer's business priorities. Look, point is very important. You are a supplier. You can supply only if that organization buys from you. You cannot force your supplies on a company. You understand? It's like that buyer-seller relationship. Why do we always say customer is king? Because ultimately it's the customer who decides. You as a business can make any number of products, but if any of those products are not required by the customer, or the customer does not sense or feel the need, then you have to keep holding those products and you have to keep waiting for the buyer to come. So that's why it's very important that you understand the customer's priority. That's why the crux of marketing is need fulfillment. Not about product, feature, sophistication, I am better than this, not about all of that. Does it fulfill the need? That is very important. Not what you create as an exterior of a product. Very interestingly, in marketing, we talk about the product levels, right? So you would have understood, you would have read that somewhere in product levels. We talk about core benefit, then we talk about a basic product, then we talk about an augmented product, right? A potential product. So we build layers for a product. In a new product development, we build like that. But we make sure that the core benefit, whatever is the core benefit that your product is going to offer, it should be there. Like for example, when you take a mobile phone, the basic feature of a mobile phone is you should be able to text and receive and pass communication. You should be able to pick a call and return a call. The moment these two things are removed, then your phone is not of any use, right? So that's the reason why many of these phones that lose their basic core functionality very often land in the hands of children, because we give it to them because they can play with that because it's got some other features that we don't require. So very often it's like that. You need to understand the customer's business priorities. You need to understand the buying company's need. Only then you can build a customer value proposition. Please understand, very, 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 very important. It's not about what I want to sell. It's all about what the buyer wants to buy. What is the buyer looking for? And depending on what the buyer is looking for, what is that requirement that they have, based on that is where I should build my value. Otherwise, anything that I do in my business, anything that I do as a supplier is useless, absolutely nil. I will never be able to convert my efforts into profits at any point of time. I will only be frustrated. I will be only, trying to pitch what I have to offer. And I will only be rejected by buyers who say, no, I'm not looking for it right now. No, we don't want it. We already have it. They'll give you all kinds of excuses and then you will not understand. Right? And why you don't understand is because you pitched it from your point of view, thinking this is very important. What I'm selling is very important. And you've not gone to this understanding to understand whether it's important for the buyer. So that's where you need to be able to look at. Two important aspects that are very important if you have to understand how to build a customer value proposition. Okay, first one is points of parity. The value elements with essentially the same performance characteristics as the next best alternative. So one is, so when I said you have a supply market, so you are competing against 5 or 6 different suppliers. So whatever those suppliers are having, you should also have. So if the buying company is looking at, okay, I have option A and option B, these are the two vendors. So I'm going to decide whether to book supplier A or whether to book supplier B. So whatever these two companies are offering as part of the value proposition, both the companies must have it. So which means if you are company A, you must ensure that all those alternatives and features that company B, the vendor B has, is something that you should also have. So those are essentials. Points of parity. The value elements that render the supplier's offering either superior or inferior is the next best alternative. So companies are always going to look at two things. One is whatever I have as in my indicator list, that criteria list. When a buying company wants to select a vendor, they have a set of criteria. They have 10 points on which they are going to do vendor analysis. When I see whether these 10 points are there with A, B, C, D. So that's how we shortlist. So if there are companies, let's say for example, A to S. So we have so many suppliers. A, B, C, D, E, F until S, you have so many suppliers. The first thing that we try to do is to eliminate. We want to reduce the number of alternatives. When we do evaluation of alternatives or when we do vendor analysis, we want to eliminate and then create a smaller list. right? Of those who fit in, and then from the smaller list, then we do a little more finer analysis, and then we pick up the best vendor. So the first thing that companies will tend to do, so when you have vendor A to S, right? The first thing that we will try to do is, I look at my 10 points in the checklist, the 10 indicators that I am using, the 10 criteria that the company is using to select, to do a vendor analysis and to select the best vendor who's going to be part of my supply chain. Okay, so I'm going to see whether from that vendor A to vendor S, do all of these fellows or all of these suppliers have what I am looking for in the 10 points. So if those vendors, whichever vendor has qualifies for those 10 points, I will put them into the selected list, and the remaining I will eliminate. Okay. So now when I do that point of parity analysis, automatically from A to S, when I do that vendor analysis, I may come to A to A to F. So I could come to A to F. So which means I've eliminated so many of them because they don't comply to all the 10 criteria that I have. So now I have A, B, C, D, E, F. So I have 7 alternatives, right? I have 6 alternatives with me. So A to F, 6 vendors. Now among the 6 vendors, I'm going to do an analysis to find out, okay, the 10 things that I'm looking for, all the 6 of them have. Okay, point of parity, all of them have passed the test. Now I'm going to look at point of difference. So among the 6 vendors that I have shortlisted, what is that sets them apart? So what is that they have better than the other, or what is that they have, superior to another, or something that is inferior to the other? So we will do that. So among A to F, among those 6 vendors, when I do a micro analysis, then I find out that okay, A, B, C, let's say 3 vendors have qualified, which means they have something superior. Okay, now among the 3 vendors, I have ABC. Sometimes what companies do is just to not risk themselves, they don't tie up with one supplier. Because when you tie up with one supplier, if something goes wrong with that supplier, then your entire supply chain gets stalled or it gets crashed. Generally, what companies do is they don't rely on one supplier. They try to ensure that they have 3 suppliers. So if you have ABC, the company can go ahead and decide we're going to take all the 3, and then whatever is our demand, we're going to share it between the 3 companies. So all the 3 vendors will be able to supply accordingly. Okay, so that's one way. That's a little more easier, because once you've shortlisted the fine group and you're going to give your business, you're going to place orders with all those 3 or 5 companies. That's easy, right? But if you have to select just 2 vendors, or if you have to just select one vendor, because the quantity or the volume that you want to place an order and buy is not very huge, so you just want one vendor to do that. So between A, B, and C, you're going to find out whose value proposition is superior, right? Or what is that they have that's better than the other 3. So you eliminate on the basis of point of difference, right? Which means you select the company that is rated high or shows superior performance. And then last of all, you will look for whether vendors are, are matching your value system, whether they believe in the business strategy that you believe in, whether they have a value system very similar to you, whether they understand your business, whether they understand your priorities, and whether in future, when your company wants to develop and it wants to go ahead and capture a big market and wants to have a very ambitious strategy, will these suppliers be with you? Will they support your business when you're going to do something extraordinary in the future? You've got to keep these 2 things in mind. So that's how you build your CVP. One is to have something, point of parity is have something very similar to what all competitors are having. And then secondly, create a USP or a differentiator that's a lot more different than your competitors' point of difference. So 2 things are extremely important when you need to look at that. Okay, so we have this example of Sunoco, and then I will give you one example from Uber, right? So Sunoco is a global packaging supplier headquartered in Southern Carolina, approached a large European customer, a producer of customer consumer goods, about redesigning the packaging for one of its successful product lines, right? So it approached a company and asked them, whether they could help them to redesign. Although the redesigned packaging provided several favorable points of difference relative to the next best alternative, right? So the redesigned package had several features that were a lot more different than what the competitors were offering or what they were doing. Sunoco executives decided to place special emphasis on 1 point of parity and 2 points of difference in the customer value proposition. So they said, okay, we need to look at two things. One is we want 1 point of parity, something that what the other suppliers are offering, and then we should have 2 points of difference. So they decided this is going to be the criteria that we want to see in the value proposition. So the redesigned packaging will deliver significantly greater manufacturing efficiency in the customer's fill lines. One is the packaging will ensure greater efficiency so that the production cycle will be a lot more faster and the lead time can be reduced through higher speed closing and provide a distinctive look the customers will find more appealing, all for the same price as the present packaging. So two things that they were looking at. One is to ensure that the packaging is going to be of a greater manufacturing efficiency so that they will be able to package more bottles and then be able to reduce the lead time, right? The production time comes down. That is one thing. The second is the packaging was so appealing, so attractive, so different than the competitors' packaging that was there. The packaging that others were using. Based on that distinction, they decided. So these are the two criteria that we're going to take. So whichever supplier is going to offer that customer value proposition for us is what we will pick. So this is something that you must understand, right? Now, companies, when they look at point of parity and point of difference, the buying company very often will not reveal this to you, right? So if they reveal to you, like for example, if any of these packaging companies which were proposing, if they could get to know that this is the point of parity, there is 1 point of parity and two, point of difference, then they would have gone ahead and done that. But here, customers don't, reveal this. The buyers don't reveal this. The buying company does not reveal it. It is for the supplier to make some sense and understanding based on the interactions that you're having, and you must be able to catch clues. You must be able to read, behind the lines or between the lines, somewhere some information that has come in the press. So all that unstructured and scattered bits and pieces of information about your buyer and the buyer's plans and about their company is something that you should be able to pick up, right? It could be very similar, like the CEO of a company could be, giving one interview to some channel, and then he could be talking about, if somebody is asking, if the one of the press reporters is asking, so what sets you apart and what is that you plan to do? What is your company's, targets in the near future? So when he's answering that question, he could be thinking about, he could tell, ours is a company that is very fundamental, value driven, and then we look for customer service to be very important. So that is what has actually brought a lot of business for us. So when we look at selling these, we want to ensure that the customer has a very good, not just buy a product, but they have a very good emotional appeal. Our packaging and products should be very attractive. So when he's in that course of that answer, when he's just giving something, explaining, what the company stands for and what it wishes to do and what the other future plans that they have. And if it gets reported somewhere and published somewhere, suppliers should be able to pick that information and read the mind of the CEO and also understand what the company is into. That is how smart suppliers will have to be. Because it's a competitive race. You have to think faster and better than your suppliers. So you should look for a lot of scattered information, a lot of unrelated information. Get to understand, okay, based on this I can understand this is what the company thinks, this is what the CEO's priorities are, this is what is there in his mind, or this is what the company plans to do. Based on that, draw some inputs and then be able to see if you can build your customer value proposition on the basis of that. So what happens when you go make a presentation, right? You will exactly be talking what the CEO, revealed as some of those very successful points on the basis of which their company has done well. And you would also be saying something that the CEO would definitely want to be very happy knowing and learning, and something that's very pleasing to the ears of the CEO. So that's where you do something. So that's where you need that extra homework. That's where you need to connect the dots, get that understanding of who this customer and client is, and then be able to do that. I told you, I mean, somewhere in the beginning, I said it's akin to snooping. but you're using all legal information that's available, all the information that's there in the public domain. Snoop, do a little bit of investigative work, do a little bit of CID kind of work, and then get to understand, collect these bits and pieces, and say, based on the understanding that I have about this company, based on the interview that this CEO gave, based on some of the strategies that this company has, I'm sure that this is what they are looking for. So this could be something that they will use as a criteria if they have to select a supplier. So that's how you should be able to look and see how to go about with things. Okay, so this is a very good example. So that's how you need to build your customer value proposition. Okay, so I'm going to open up questions before I go into just one example that I want to ask. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me at this point of time, any doubts, any
No,
question,
sir.
any
No,
clarification?
sir.
Other than a no, I want to hear something. Some comment, something that you thought was very important as a lesson that you picked up from today.
Sir, on customer equity, can you say a point on it, sir?
Is it customer equity or brand equity are you looking for?
So, customer equity.
Okay, customer equity is something that a company will build in the long run. Okay, it is something that you have to build, and the basis of building a customer equity is your CVP. So if you're able to do a good CVP, propose, and you get that first customer, first client to whom you are supplying, and then if the client is very happy, then the business continues. So there you built your first equity with that first client, and then you do that with the second company, third company, fourth company. With all companies, you have to look at things very differently. So another important thing that you need to understand about proposing a CVP and then pitching before a business organization is what works for one business company or business buyer or one client may not work for everybody. Please understand this. So it's not like you create a very good CVP and you were able to convince one buyer and get that business on your side. It does not mean the same thing is going to work, because every company is different, every company's plans are different, every company's strategies are different, every company's target markets that they are targeting, and then how they want to build their business and grow their business is very different. So with every company and customer, you have to look at building a CVP uniquely, so it has to be highly customized. And then what happens is, once you do that with one customer, two customer, three customer, and you have about 15 to 20 businesses, 20 best businesses in the industry to whom you are supplying, then you have built a customer equity, right? Now, once you build that customer or that business equity, then you continue that relationship and you nurture it, so that none of these customers and clients feel disappointed, unhappy, dissatisfied, and go through cognitive dissonance and then look for another vendor, right? So that is when you start losing your customer equity. So this is something that you have to build and you have to nurture, sustain that equity, so that you get continued long-term, continuous reciprocal business. So it's a win-win kind of a thing. The business needs the supplier, supplier needs the business. So that it's like that, right? So that network has to really build like that. So that's how you build, right? And along with this, you can also bring your brand, right? So that's where the brand equity also comes in, right? Just
The brand equity, yes, sir.
like how businesses have a brand, suppliers also have a brand. Like I gave you the example of Intel. Intel is such a superior brand. Microsoft is such a superior brand. Android is such a superior brand, right? Or for example, so many other brands like that, that we have in the B2B. So there are very superior brands. Like for example, when you look at Toyota, Toyota is a very good, supply brand. All that OEMs that major companies use are all, from the house of Toyota. So that kind of a brand is there. The moment you say you're doing business with Toyota, you understand that you're doing business with a very serious supplier, and you are ensured of quality. You don't have to think about, what they're going to offer, or you don't have to scrutinize their quality. So you're doing best. You're doing business with the best in the industry, right? So that is how you should be able to build. So customer equity as well as brand equity, both are going to help you to build your business, and then thereby you position yourself as a very good, strong supplier who means business, and then who can cater to any of the business needs and business requirements of anybody for that matter. Okay, so good question there. Okay, I'll go back to my LMS. Okay, so here what you see is this. Okay, are you able to see this part? So I'm going to open this up for you as well. Okay, so you will be able to. Okay, so you can see this customer value proposition and B2B buying. So this is the link to the PowerPoint. You can always refer that. Okay, so do you see this part here? The 7 best value propositions in the world. Are you able to see this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, yes. This is a very interesting one. So you can go back and read this. So this is a blog, link to the blog. Are you able to see the blog? Word stream?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 7 of the best value proposition examples we've seen. Okay, so whatever I told you as part of this lecture, you can please read through this. So we've got examples of Uber. Please read this, very interesting. 7 companies that have created amazing value propositions by which they have understood the needs of the customer, understood how every market is different, right? And then be able to create a solution and then pitch it before the customers so that it becomes a very attractive proposition that the customer will not deny. So we have Uber, how Uber has gone around building its business. One of the finest examples that we have about how a company has gone ahead to that. So please read this, very interesting. So it's there on your LMS and it's available for you. Second company is Apple, right? So more than any other company, all of you are very familiar with Apple. How Apple has built that value, where it is. All of us look up to Apple as one of the finest, as that premier company that you can think of. Somebody who always thinks about what is the next technology. So if at all many of us are introduced to new technologies on the mobile phone, it has always been through Apple's experience. What Apple has thought about. Apple thinks 10 years ahead. And then when they come up with a product, many of us don't even know that we have a need. Only after we use it do we understand that yes, we can do this. Oh, this is a need. I never knew about it. Right? So read about Apple. How Apple has created a value proposition by which it is offering great solutions to people around the world. Right? Third company we have is Unbounce, right? So that's another electronic company and how they have gone about creating value. So 3 different companies. So you can go through this, and then we have another company called Slack. It's a workplace productivity messaging app, right? So how they have created, you have so many kind of workplace productivity apps. Now how is this app different? What is the kind of value that they have created? How have they understood consumers need, right? So look at Slack's example, and then you can look at Digit, save money without thinking about anything, right? So we have another one like that. 5, and we have Less Accounting. How you can go about bookkeeping without any hassle. Making things easy for small firms to do it yourself. That kind of things where they can go ahead and do that. Crazy Egg. So very interesting new age companies. These are all new age technology backed companies that have done extremely well. Okay, so you can read this. It's very, very interesting. So you will get to understand. Now that you understand the concept of customer value proposition, when you read these 7 different companies and how they have gone about creating value, so you get a fine understanding of what you can do. Okay, so that's pretty much what is there.
I remembered one example, sir,
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
BMW. From BMW, once they gave a free service of 5 years,
Correct.
where they created a CVP to compete the other brands in the
Yes,
market.
yes. So you've got to be one step ahead, all the time. So on that LMS, what I'll be doing is I'll be opening up that for you. I'll just show that also. I can go back. Yeah, it's here. Okay, so this is their CVP. So you can read the 7 best value propositions. And I will post one question over here. It could be sometime next week also, and I will send you a message. When I do that, so it'll come up over here, and I'll tell you what exactly after you read this, what is that's expected is something that will come up over here in the forum, so you can bring that over there, and then you can also read this. This is a case about how an engineering student from Rajasthan, right? His name is Anirudh Sharma. How a very young engineering student, went about designing a new product, that can help blind people, right? How he created a special technology-enabled shoe called Lechal, a shoe that works on Google Maps, uses Google Maps and Android technology to help the blind to be able to find their path, to help them to walk, right? So this is based on his own personal experience because he was very close to his grandfather, and his grandfather, due to old age and diabetes, he lost his eyesight. So this boy was an engineer studying in Rajasthan University, and then he was electronics and computer science kind of course that he was doing. He started feeling bad for his grandfather, so he thought, with whatever knowledge I have and whatever I am learning, can I design a product? Is it possible for blind people to be enabled so that they are guided when they walk, they are guided by their shoes? So he designed a very special technology-based shoe called, and he named it as Lechal. So it's a case study about how that boy went about understanding the problem, understanding the need, and how with all the resources and knowledge that he had, how he built that special purpose shoe, and then how he was able to position, build that CVP, and then be able to position and create, right? So it's a very interesting case that you can read, so that it's a good inspiration for youngsters, so that you can understand about what you can do with the knowledge that you have. So much of things that you learn, so much of exposure that you have, it's very important that you do something with that, right? So you should always think about what is that I can do. Look for problems around you and see how you can solve with some knowledge and some experience that you have. So that's how you create value proposition. That's how you begin. Once you start identifying what is the solution that I want to offer, what is the need, and then everything that you're trying to do is building that value proposition. So these are very good examples that you have, right? So you can go through that and get a very good understanding of it as such. Okay. So I'm going to put up some, things that you can do over the next 8 days. We are on a break, but you can go to your LMS and you can do some work there, so that you're also, keeping yourself a little bit occupied. Okay. So we will do this. So we will meet when we come back for the next class. Okay. Right. If there's any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will, post it for you in the group, in the LMS, and then you can take it up. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then, yeah. I can hear only Nandish. Only Nandish has asked a question. Nandish says yes, Nandish says no. What about all the others? Are you around?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so see you then. And have
Thank you, sir.
enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Same to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank
Happy,
you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
you, sir.
Christmas.
Thank you. Yeah. All right then. Thank you so much.
See, bye, sir. Have a
Bye.
good day.
Thank you.